In the fathomless depths of the intergalactic ocean, light years beyond human comprehension lay the Xylar Imperium. An aquatic civilization of unparalleled intellect and technological prowess, the Xylar had, for millennia, governed their underwater domain with meticulous precision. Their cities, shimmering bioluminescent coral structures, pulsed with the rhythm of a society governed by logic and inflexible protocols. Yet, beneath this veneer of order, a crisis was brewing, a cataclysm so profound it threatened to unravel the very fabric of their society. It wasn't an invading armada nor a rogue black hole, but something far more insidious, a bureaucratic oversight spiraling out of control. Imagine, if you will, an advanced civilization brought to its knees, not by war or famine, but by a misfiled form. The Xylar Imperium, you see, was nothing if not thorough. Every decision, every action, every ripple in their carefully controlled environment was subject to a rigorous system of checks and balances, a process so elaborate, so intricate, that it made Earth's most convoluted government regulations look like a child's connect-the-dots puzzle. And it was this very system, this monument to order, that was now their undoing. And into this swirling vortex of aquatic angst swam Bob, just Bob. No last name, no honorifics, just Bob, Earth's ambassador, sent to navigate the Xylar's crisis. A human. Picture this. The Xylar, sleek, bioluminescent, radiating an aura of profound seriousness, and then there's Bob. He's got the standard issue human look going on. Pale skin, perpetually rumpled clothes, and an expression that suggests he'd rather be napping. He's the kind of guy who considers ironing an optional activity, and his diplomatic strategy seems to involve a healthy dose of sarcasm and a complete disregard for protocol. Bob wasn't exactly what the Xylar were expecting. They envisioned a dignified representative, a paragon of human intellect and discipline. What they got was someone who looked like he'd just rolled out of bed and into an intergalactic diplomatic mission. His first words, upon arriving at the Xylar capital, were, where's the coffee? But beneath the casual exterior, the rumpled clothes and the sarcastic quips, resided a mind as sharp as any Xylar's. Bob possessed an uncanny ability to see through complex problems, to identify the core issue with an almost unnerving accuracy. He just preferred to approach things with a level of informality that made the Xylar's collective gills quiver. His methods might seem unorthodox, his solutions unexpected, but, as the Xylar were about to discover, sometimes the most effective answer comes from the most unlikely source. The summons arrived with the weight of a dying star, a personal audience with the Queen, an event usually reserved for matters of galactic importance or, really, really bad weather. Bob, still trying to figure out the Xylar equivalent of caffeine, was escorted through shimmering corridors, past ranks of silent, watchful guards. The air hummed with unseen energy, and Bob couldn't help but think the whole place looked like a very expensive aquarium. The Queen's chamber was a spectacle of bioluminescent coral and flowing water. The Queen herself, larger and more ornate than the average Xylar, regarded Bob with an intensity that could curdle milk. "Ambassador Bob," she intoned, her voice echoing through the chamber. "We have summoned you to address a matter of grave importance." Bob, stifling a yawn, gave a casual nod. "Lay it on me, Your Majesty. Though fair warning, I'm still running. On fumes here. Did anyone invent coffee yet in this galaxy?" The Queen's mandibles twitched slightly. Fumes? Coffee? These were not the words of diplomacy she expected. She gestured towards a massive structure in the center of the chamber. It was a tangle of pipes, shimmering crystals and pulsating membranes, all humming with an otherworldly energy. "This," the Queen declared, "is our lifeblood, our sustainer." She paused, clearly choosing her words with excruciating care. "It is malfunctioning." Bob, finally showing a flicker of genuine interest, ambled towards the device. He circled it slowly, peering at the various components with a puzzled frown. So what's this thing do exactly? Is it like a giant espresso machine? 'Cause if it is, I might be able to help after all. The Queen stared at him, utterly bewildered. Espresso machine? The cultural gap yawned like a black hole. It processes nutrients, she explained, her voice tight with barely suppressed frustration. It converts raw elements into sustenance for our entire civilization. Bob poked at a particularly shiny crystal. Right. So, it's a food thingy. Gotcha. And what's the problem? Is it clogged? Needs a good plunger? The Queen's eyes narrowed. Plunger? This human was either incredibly dense or playing some sort of bizarre game. Bob, never one for manuals, started his diagnostic process by giving the machine a good, solid thump. Sometimes, he explained to the nearest Xylar guard, who looked like he was about to faint, these things just need a little percussive maintenance. The machine responded with a series of groans and a shower of sparks, causing several Xylar technicians to scuttle away in panic. Next, Bob located what appeared to be the central control panel, a bewildering array of glowing buttons and pulsating symbols. He randomly pushed a few, muttering, "Let's see what this does." As alarms began to blare throughout the chamber, the Queen, observing from her throne, felt a tendril of anxiety wrap around her heart. This was not going according to protocol. Undeterred, Bob pulled out a multi-tool from his pocket, a device that had seen better days and was held together, mostly by duct tape. He began fiddling with the internal components of the machine, occasionally muttering phrases like, "Well, that's not good, and where's the blasted reset button?" He snipped a wire here, tightened a bolt there, all with the air of a man who was either a genius or completely insane. The Xylar scientists watched in horror as Bob bypassed security protocols, rerouted power conduits, and generally wreaked havoc on their precious machinery. Their carefully calibrated systems were being subjected to a level of improvisation they couldn't comprehend. At one point, a geyser of brightly colored liquid erupted from the machine, coating Bob in a sticky, iridescent goo. He licked a drop off his finger. "Huh," he said. "Tastes like blue raspberry?" The Queen, speechless with a mixture of horror and fascination, could only watch as her civilization's life support system was subjected to the unholy ministrations of a human handyman. The chaos continued for what felt like an eternity. Pipes leaked, wires sparked, and strange noises emanated from the machine. The Xylar guard stood frozen, unsure whether to intervene or simply document the unfolding disaster. Bob, covered in goo and grime, finally stepped back, wiping his hands on his already filthy trousers. "All right," he announced, beaming. "I think I've got it sorted. Just needed a little tweaking." He pressed a large red button that he had helpfully relabeled "Do Not Push" with a piece of masking tape. The machine shuddered, sputtered, and then fell silent. An ominous silence. The Queen braced herself for the inevitable explosion. Instead, the machine began to hum, a low, steady thrum that resonated through the chamber. From various nozzles and spouts, a rainbow of nutrient solutions began to flow, each one a different color and consistency. The Xylar scientists exchanged bewildered glances. It was working. But how? Bob, unfazed by the collective astonishment, grabbed a nearby container and filled it with a swirling mixture of purple and green liquid. "Anyone want a smoothie?" he offered. The Xylar Council convened in hushed tones, their bioluminescent bodies flickering with concern. Councillor Zorgon, a particularly rigid member of the council, voiced the growing sentiment. "This Bob. His methods are illogical, destructive even. Is he deliberately sabotaging our distillery?" Another councillor, a more pragmatic Xylar named Fleep, countered, "But the machine, it is functioning. After centuries of decline, the nutrient flow has been restored. Can we afford to question the means when the outcome is beneficial?" Zorgon retorted, "Beneficial?" He applied adhesive strips. He bypassed millennia of engineering. Our species' survival is not a matter for human improvisation. The suspicion was spreading like a virus through their meticulously ordered society. Meanwhile, Bob, oblivious to the simmering distrust, was busy fashioning a small umbrella out of discarded machine parts and a cocktail straw. He then stuck it jauntily into one of the nutrient streams. "Gotta keep the cosmic rays out," he explained to a nearby, utterly baffled technician. The Queen, torn between desperation and mounting unease, decided to confront Bob directly. She approached him, her royal guard flanking her like living statues. "Human Bob," she began, her voice resonating with controlled authority. "Your intervention have yielded unexpected results." Bob glanced up, mid-sip of a bright orange concoction. "Unexpectedly good, I hope? Look, I'm just applying a little good old Earth know-how, nothing to sweat about." The Queen's bioluminescence dimmed slightly. "Sweat? Is that a component of your process?" She paused, trying to regain her composure. "The Council has expressed concerns about your unorthodox approach. Explain yourself." Bob sighed, placing his half-finished drink down. All right. Look, you guys got this machine all fancy and complicated, right? But sometimes the simplest solution is the best. You were so busy overthinking it, you missed the obvious." "The obvious?" the Queen repeated, her tone laced with incredulity. "You bypassed safety protocols, reconfigured power conduits with chewing gum, and relabeled critical functions with Earth slang. Is this your definition of obvious?" Bob shrugged. "Hey, if it works, it works. Besides," he added with a grin, "I haven't seen anyone else volunteer to fix your giant soda fountain here, unless you prefer the slow, agonizing decline of your species." His words hung in the air, a mixture of sarcasm and brutal honesty that even the stoic Xylar found difficult to ignore. The Queen's mandibles clicked in agitation. "Soda fountain? Human. This is a vital organ of our civilization. It sustains us. It is not some recreational device." Bob blinked, then stared at the complex network of tubes, filters, and shimmering liquids that comprised the distillery. "Wait a minute," he said, his voice suddenly serious. "This thing, it's not just making random goo, is it?" He reached out, carefully examining a nozzle that dispensed a thick blue fluid. He sniffed it, then cautiously touched a drop to his tongue. His eyes widened. "By Carl Sagan," he muttered. "This is nutrients." The Xylar Queen recoiled slightly. "Of course it is nutrients. What did you think it was?" "I thought," Bob admitted sheepishly, "it was some kind of weird alien soft drink dispenser. You know, like a galactic Slurpee machine or something." He gestured around the room. "All the colors, the fizzing, the little umbrellas." A collective gasp rippled through the Xylar observers. Counselor Zorgan fainted, his bioluminescence flickering erratically before going dark. Fleep, ever the pragmatist, simply stared, utterly dumbfounded. The Queen, however, remained standing, though her mandibles were twitching uncontrollably. You believed our life support system was a beverage dispenser?" Bob shuffled his feet. "Well, yeah. I mean, it's got all the bells and whistles. Back on Earth, we have these things called soda fountains, and they're like a cultural institution. I just assumed..." He trailed off, realizing the enormity of his misinterpretation. The weapon wasn't a weapon at all. It was the Xylar's version of food, water, and medicine, all rolled into one elaborate, aesthetically pleasing package, and he'd been treating it like a broken vending machine. The silence stretched, thick and uncomfortable. Finally, Bob cleared his throat. "Okay," he said. "Okay, I get it now. This is serious. No more fizzy drinks. No more tiny umbrellas. This is your everything." He approached the distillery again, this time with a newfound respect. He began to examine the system more closely, his initial flippancy replaced with focused concentration. The design flaw, he realized, was subtle, but catastrophic. A miscalibration in the mineral injection system was slowly poisoning the nutrient mix, leading to the Xylar's decline. It was, in essence, a cosmic-scale nutritional deficiency, masked by the complex machinery and the Xylar's rigid adherence to tradition. They were so focused on the process they hadn't noticed the product was slowly killing them. Bob turned to the Queen, his expression serious. "All right," he said. "I know what's wrong, and I know how to fix it, but you're not going to like it." Bob surveyed the distillery, now understanding its true purpose. "All right, so the mineral injector's borked, right? It's dumping too much Xylargium into the nutrient mix. Simple fix, really." He turned to the Queen. "You got any duct tape?" The Queen's bioluminescent patterns flickered in confusion. "Duct tape? What is this duct tape?" It's this sticky stuff we have on Earth," Bob explained, pulling a roll from his seemingly bottomless bag. "Fixes everything. Spaceships, broken hearts, you name it." The Xylar looked at the roll of silver tape with utter disbelief. Counselor Fleet made a choking sound. "You propose to repair our life-sustaining technology with adhesive?" "Hey, don't knock it till you try it," Bob retorted, already peeling off a strip. "See, the problem is this valve here. It's letting too much Xylargium through. We just need to restrict the flow a little." With practiced ease, Bob wrapped the duct tape around the offending valve, carefully sealing off a portion of the opening. He stepped back, admiring his handiwork. There, good as new. The Xylar watched in stunned silence as the flow of Xylargium visibly decreased. The nutrient mix began to clear, the blue tinge fading to a healthier, more vibrant green. Instruments beeped and whirred, indicating a return to optimal levels. The Queen approached the nozzle, drawing a small sample of the purified nutrient. She tasted it cautiously, her mandibles working slowly. Her eyes widened. It is balanced," she declared, her voice filled with awe. "The mineral content is perfect." Counselor Zorgan, revived from his earlier faint, rushed forward to sample the nutrient himself. "By the great kelp forest," he exclaimed. It's delicious. I feel invigorated." A wave of relief and amazement washed over the Xylar observers. They had been on the brink of collapse, their entire civilization teetering on the edge of extinction, and a human with a roll of sticky tape had saved them. Bob shrugged, nonchalantly pocketing his duct tape. "Like I said, simple fix. Sometimes, the best solutions are the simplest ones." He grinned. "Now about those little umbrellas." The Xylar Queen, her bioluminescent patterns now displaying a calming azure, approached Bob. "Ambassador," she began, her voice still carrying a regal tone, "your unconventional methods have yielded unexpected results. The distillery functions, once more. Our people are in your debt." A ripple of murmurs went through the assembled Xylar. Counselor Fleet, still somewhat bewildered, managed a nod of acknowledgement. Even the perpetually skeptical Zorgon seemed to have softened, his usually furrowed brow smoothed out in what might have been a smile. Bob leaned against the distillery, ever the picture of relaxed informality amidst rigid order. "Hey, no sweat," he replied. "Glad I could help. Just remember, sometimes you gotta think outside the box. Or the kelp forest, I guess." The Queen tilted her head, processing the idiom. "Indeed. Perhaps there is merit in your outside-the-box thinking. Our adherence to rigid protocols may have blinded us to simpler solutions." A faint smile played around her mandibles. "A lesson learned, Ambassador. A valuable one." With the crisis averted, a sense of cautious optimism filled the air. The Xylar, while still somewhat perplexed by Bob's methods, couldn't deny the effectiveness of his approach. A grudging respect began to bloom, a tiny shoot of interspecies understanding pushing its way through the hard-packed soil of their cultural differences. As preparations were made for Bob's departure, the Queen presented him with a small, intricately carved nautilus shell. "A token of our gratitude," she said. "May it serve as a reminder of the day a human saved the Xylar Imperium with duct tape." Bob accepted the shell with a grin. "I'll treasure it," he said. "And hey, if you ever need A soda fountain expert, you know who to call. He winked, then stepped onto the transport pad ready to return to Earth, leaving behind a civilization forever changed by a human with a roll of sticky tape and a penchant for the unconventional. The ripples of Bob's visit spread far beyond. The immediate repair of the nutrient distillery. The Xylar Imperium, once a bastion of unwavering tradition, began to experiment. Tentatively at first, of course, small deviations from the established protocols, carefully monitored and thoroughly documented. But deviations nonetheless. They started adding a little fizz to the distilled nutrients, just to see what would happen. Turns out, a little. Carbonation goes a long way to improving morale, even if Counselor Fleep nearly had a myocardial infarction when he first tasted it. News of the human fix and the Queen's surprising acceptance of it spread through the galactic community. Other species facing their own unique and bizarre crises began to look at humanity with a newfound curiosity and a healthy dose of apprehension. The Galactic Senate, usually a hotbed of bureaucratic stagnation, even formed a special committee to study human ingenuity and its potential applications and dangers. The committee's first report, predictably, was 300 pages long and concluded that further study was needed. Back on Earth, Bob was something of a celebrity. Not that he cared much. He mostly used his newfound fame to get better discounts on pizza and to convince his neighbor to finally fix that leaky faucet. He did, however, keep the Nautilus shell on his mantelpiece, right next to his bobblehead collection. One evening, as he was relaxing on his couch, watching a rerun of some old sci-fi show, he got a comms call. It was the Xylar Queen. "Ambassador," she said, her voice surprisingly chipper, "we have encountered another situation. It appears our data storage systems are experiencing a glitch. We believe you may be uniquely qualified to assist." Bob sighed, a smile creeping across his face. All right, he said. "Tell me what's up. But this time, remind me to pack my universal remote. And maybe a fishing rod."